And a question from Miss Rousey. Ronda, it's I think Sunday. It's a year to the day since you defended the women's bantamweight title for the first time. Can you describe, in some ways, this extraordinary year in which perhaps you've become, people are talking about you as the biggest star now in the UFC organization, and how far women's MMA has come in the last year on this platform?
I would describe it as juggling on a unicycle. That's my favorite analogy. But it's been really fun. You know, it's definitely a whirlwind and it's challenging at times. And I think that women's MMA has made so much more progress than I even could have hoped for. That even within that 1 year, we've already added a second division. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how the 115-pound girls go. And I'm so looking forward to having another women's champion in the UFC.
And you're going to win by armbar on Saturday night?
I'm going to win by the most entertaining way possible.
My question is for Sara. Sara, when it comes down to your style of wrestling, do you feel that that will be enough to really stifle the judo of Ronda, or did you have to bring in somebody special to work on that sort of judo style that's very unique to Miss Rousey in the UFC?
For every training camp, I try to see if I can, mimic the people that I'm fighting the best that I possibly can. So, I had some of the people that I'm familiar with and some different people to, get as close as a grasp as I can on my opponent. But, you never really know until you get out there and you feel it yourself.
My question is for Ronda. Ronda, how hard was your training for this fight?
Well, I almost feel like I had 2 training camps in a row for this fight. And I think this definitely was the best camp that I've ever had. The last fight, I started in shape, but I wasn't really in fighting shape. I went 10 weeks without really being in my gym or sparring or anything. And the beginning camp was spent getting in shape, and I had some obstacles with injuries and being sick. And by the end of it, I was in the best shape of my life. We did pull it together, but it was a struggle in the beginning. Whereas this camp, I started in the best shape of my life. And the best performances I've ever had, just historically, have always been when I had the fastest turnaround, and I never got out of shape. I started in shape, and I didn't have to spend time regaining lost ground. I spent all my time improving, and I really feel like I'm going to have the best performance my entire career, and it always has a lot to do with my competition. I fight better when I have higher level competition. I mean, it's the same way with my sparring and everything. And I think that also comes with being an Olympic athlete. You're raised to rise to the occasion and fight above yourself when it counts. And I know that Sara is exactly the competition that I've been waiting for to show that what I'm really capable of.
This is for both Sara and Ronda. Since we're sort of in the throes of Olympic fever, even though you guys didn't compete in the Winter Olympics, I'm wondering if you've been watching the Olympics, and if so, does that bring back any sort of memories? Is that motivational for you to remember what you accomplished, or the fact that you didn't accomplish what you set out to do? And does that play into today in any way, shape, or form?
I don't really feel like that. The winter sports has always been so separate from what I do that I really can just watch it and just be in awe of the, like the figure skating and the different competitions, because it's so different from what I've done that really I just look at the skills and appreciate it.
Actually, I wish I could have watched a lot of this Olympics, but I've been so focused on camp, I haven't really watched anything at all. And it seems that I always have a fight exactly the time of the Olympics. I wanted to go to the London one to watch, and I had a fight right on the day of closing ceremonies, and it's just, it seems to be playing out that way. And I do miss that feeling of, I've never really had that feeling of being a spectator, since I was a little kid. And so the next Olympics, I'm hoping that I can take full advantage and actually be there myself and get the real experience,
This question is for Ronda. Ronda, a lot of times when we see a grappler versus grappler, I'm over here, hi. It's very nice to meet you. When you see grappler versus grappler in mixed martial arts, we'll see what ends up being a stand-up fight. Sara's been so dominant in grappling her previous opponents. How do you prepare for the unknown of Sara McMann's stand-up?
Well, I'm prepared in every single area, and she has certain tendencies that we're aware of and that I'm ready to take advantage of, and then I also spend a lot of time just covering my own holes and, you know, improving myself. I mean, everybody kind of forgets that I won the world title a year after my pro debut. You know, I've been learning on the go. I jumped into the deep end, whereas Sara's casually waded over to the deep end. And, you know, I'm constantly trying to improve myself all the time while I'm here. And I try to prepare for every opponent individually, but a lot of the time I just spend on trying to improve myself.
And I have one.
Ronda, I'm kind of hidden by the podium, but you have so much going on in your life right now between the UFC and signing movie deals in Hollywood. Can you talk about how you're balancing both careers, and is there a worry that you might lose your edge in the octagon because your schedule is so busy?
No, I think my busy schedule helps me keep my edge. Otherwise, I would just be like chilling and vacationing somewhere. You know, it keeps me sharp. And the way that we deal with it is the second I got back from shooting those other movies, I wasn't allowed to talk about it in the gym at all. Like, it wasn't allowed to be mentioned or even at home. So I just had to really pretend that it didn't even happen. And yeah, that's pretty much what we're doing for this camp. You know, all this stuff came up, and my representation was very considerate with taking care of everything for me. And I only had to have one meeting, and that was all. That was it. So I only spent, you know, 45 minutes of my time in the last 6 weeks dealing with Hollywood stuff, and every other minute has been entirely focused on this fight. It doesn't exist to me at all until this fight's over and I've won.
Question for Daniel Cormier. DC, obviously a lot on the line here going into the fight with Rashad, potential title implications, etc. You made no secret about the fact that you're a competitor at all costs and you just wanted to fight anybody. Was there anybody from your camp on the management side or any kind of thing like that that tries to get your ear and say, you know, maybe we play this safe that you have to argue with a little bit?
No, man. You know, the thing about my team is they know who I am. They know that I'd like to compete, and any opportunity I get to compete, I'm going to take it. So even if they said no, I still was going to do it regardless. It's my career. I'm in charge of it, and they work for me, you know. So nobody fights me on those decisions. We make them together, but ultimately it comes down to my decision.
A question for Pat Cummins. Pat, UFC fans are hearing your story for the first time. Obviously, there's a lot of intrigue based on what you have to say about your past training with Daniel Cormier. Are these stories things that people close to you, friends, have heard for a long time that we're just now hearing because maybe we haven't been exposed to you on a national stage? Is this something you've talked about for a long time as Daniel has rose to prominence?
No, you know, I'm not one to go, you know, bragging about myself very often, but, you know, this opportunity came up and I'm willing to talk about it.
Patrick, hold the microphone up. We can't hear you.
Hey, sorry, man. It's my first time. But listen, I feel like we've gotten really close in this past week, so I'm not going to call you Daniel. I'm going to call you Dan. You okay with that?
And I'm going to beat you up on Saturday. Are you okay with that?
I'd love for you to come try.
Daniel, question for you. Besides your love for Popeye's chicken, how difficult has it been to make this cut, or what has been the most difficult part of this weight cut?
You know what, man? It hasn't been that bad. I've just kind of had to do things a little different. You know, throughout my life, I grew up in Louisiana. There's red beans and rice and Popeyes on every corner. I didn't have salad in my entire life until this training camp. I'm 34 years old, and I'd never touched a salad in my entire life. I had a few salads, and I started losing weight. Plus, it's healthy food now, and I got somebody to help me make my food and just help me at all turns, man. You use your resources to make this as easy as possible, so it hasn't been that bad. But, you know, I was home for Thanksgiving, and my girlfriend actually made a big, huge salad, and all this food was on the table, fatty food. And at the end of the day, that salad had not been touched. That's the house I grew up in.
Nice. Final question for you. You're in crunch time, 24 hours away. What are you weighing right now? How many more pounds do you have to shed? And how are you feeling?
I feel great. You know, I was able to train last night. I was grappling. This morning, I was 209 pounds. So I'm only 3 pounds away from weight. And I'm going to make this thing easy because I want to compete at my best. I train hard, like Dana said. I beg for this fight. And this guy's he's never at a loss for words, but I'm sitting there going, Dana, but I trained so hard, and all he kept saying was, I know, but I lost all this weight. I know. And if this guy's never lost for words, so he knew what it meant for me to get an opportunity to compete. So I'm making this weight easy so that I compete well on Saturday night.
Building off that story, a question for Patrick Cummins. And Patrick, I mean, hearing Dana retell that story, emotionally, describe your feelings. I mean, is this a surreal experience for you right now?
Yeah, this is definitely a surreal experience, but it's something that I've been working towards for 4 years now. And I think what some people overlook is, this guy was just working in a coffee shop and they pulled him off the street and now he's fighting. I got my job at 3:30 in the morning to 9:30 in the morning so I could make it to train at 10 o'clock, and then I could take a nap, do whatever I had to do, and train again at night, all for this, all for this dream of making it here and coming and competing with the best guys and beating them. It's great that the first part of my dream is realized, and now I'm ready to go realize the second.
Do you have a message for your old boss at the coffee shop?
No, there's no hard feelings there. I understand what they're doing, but like I said, I was at the end of my rope. I couldn't pay the bills, and this is the only job that fit my schedule where I needed to do. So they helped me out. I for about a month they gave me a job, and I'm grateful for that. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. I'd be on the street somewhere.
So a serious question, just to follow that up. You're 4-0. You've been at this for 4 years. Why have you not been more active?
That's a story in itself. We've been searching for fights for a long, long time, and it seems like nobody wanted to step up. We've had about 40, 50 fights fall through on us, and
you know what? Too, to add to that, when I called Cormier's team, Bob Cook said to me, nobody wants to fight that guy in the smaller shows. Nobody wants to fight him. So I found that interesting that, Cormier's team was saying that.
One last question for Daniel. Not having Kane in this camp to train alongside of you, being that he's injured, how different was your camp in preparation?
It was tougher, because you can't really replace him. I mean, he's the best in the world, and he works harder than anybody that's my size. But you know what, man? I used my other partners. I used Luke Rockhold, who's also very good. A lot of guys just in the gym, and I just mixed them up. Every day I sparred 3 different guys. I didn't spar one person. But you know what, man? Kane was around. He was there to do my cardio with me, there to do my speed and agility drills with me, and just there to hang out. So just having him in the gym was an added element to him not being there at all. So it was okay, but I was prepared. Every training partner that I had could beat Patrick Cummins, so I think I should be okay.
Patrick, this question's for you, and it's follow up a little bit right here.
Where we come from?
Follow up a little bit on what Ron asked, but Daniel's been pretty heavy on the "you're not going to be ready for this" rhetoric. You know what I mean? It's all going to be too much. Well, yesterday was media day. Today's the press conference. How do you feel?
I don't know. You guys tell me. How am I doing? I feel like I'm doing okay. Right? I mean, this is no different than getting up and competing. At the level that I've competed in wrestling, and I competed in Strikeforce, a big show in Strikeforce, and I feel like I've been there, and I'm ready to step right in.
When it comes down to it, we all know this fight has gotten incredibly personal for you. At what point do you have to really put your emotions aside to be in the best mental headspace possible, or do you feel that you're really going to fight better because this has gotten personal?
The thing is, Pat and I can fight all week and argue all week, but when we step into the cage, I have to be a professional. That's something I've never strayed away from in my whole entire career. I'm going to fight the way I fight, regardless of if I'm mad at Patrick or if I'm happy with Patrick. It doesn't matter. I'm still going to fight the same way. You ever wonder why street fights last 10, 15 seconds? Guys are fighting with pure emotion. They can't go any longer. You get tired. So I'm going to be a professional, and I'm going to go into the cage and do what I've done every single time I've ever fought in my entire career, and that's get my hand raised.
Thanks.